Welcome to video lesson 1 of the Dadbird project. We're in 2 different states, but the best way to really show you this is with a good visual. So here we are at Timuquana Country Club. It's late night, it's after a long day of work, but I'm gonna show you the key to the best chipping around. Essentially the same move that they do on every tour worldwide to get the ball to react accordingly and to stay consistent around the greens. You're gonna increase your target today. You're gonna feel like once you start to hone this skill that your target's gonna get bigger. So it's not just imperative that you hit the green going forward in 2 on a par 5, but if you're anywhere in the closely mown area, you're gonna feel like you have a chance to get up and down and make birdie. Trying to make 4-footers, 5-footers, and 6-footers. And that's really the goal, I think, with chipping. You look at the tour averages, they're not as close as you think they are. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at a closely mown area here. We're gonna give you the idea of where you need to go with your wedge game, and then hopefully you can show me some videos on the way back, and we're gonna talk about how you got better. We should see a drastic improvement. It's a skill that everybody can have. You don't have to be super athletic. You don't have to have a ton of time. You just have to understand the principle. If you can understand the principle, give me 30 minutes a week, you're gonna have the best short game of your life. All right, so Sean, okay, so here we are in a closely mown area, right? And up in the north, you're gonna have a different grass. We're gonna have Celebration or Tiff Grand or any common strain of Bermuda in the south. And so that's gonna give us a little different of a lie, but the principle stays the same. If anything, in the north, you should have an easier time pitching the ball because of the firmness of the ground and the type of grass they grow, especially in the summer months. So what we're seeing here is I got a 58-degree wedge. It's got 8 degrees of bounce, okay? And basically I'm gonna reenact sort of the motion that I feel like you sent me. So first and foremost, I feel like you get the weight, the ball kind of gets back or maybe centered, and then all of a sudden the club gets here. And the big thing to look at here is whether or not the club is inside or outside the hands. And what we want to think about when we're doing this is if our target line is here, right? Well, then that path goes all the way back, right? So is that club staying on that target line or above it, or is that club being dumped inside? And I see this position with your hands. It's the same sort of position you get to with your golf swing. So once you get like that, this is totally dead. So at this point, you have to then have a path that without question is gonna go to the right, and then you're gonna feel like you have to almost cup it with your left hand, hit that shot. Now you notice I hit a little drop kicky there. That's sort of emblematic of that path. That's nothing else. There's no amount of time that I can spend that's gonna help that. Even if we were to hold that angle and swing from the inside, the best you can do is always hit a ball, if you see it on the video, that's gonna roll out. It's always basically the club face is in a motion of shutting, okay? I don't like that. I especially don't like that over time. I think you can have good days chipping where you have a great feel or great weight to your shots, but some days you're gonna have days where you chunk it, skull it, send it careening over the green, basically introducing double to your golf game. And that's one thing you can't do in any tournament, especially the Mid-Am qualifier. So what I want you to do here instead is I want this handle, first off, after we open the body, the big thing here is geometry. The idea is we want to get as tall as we can, and the feeling to me is like we're looking over a tall fence, right? So we can't get on the fence. We got to lean and look over that fence, and we're trying to look down over that fence like this without actually touching the fence, right? So that's the feeling of height. Then we're gonna use our lever, and our lever is our arm that's underneath our fulcrum, which is our right shoulder, in the golf club in a straight line, right? So this is the basic fundamental. The idea is that we're creating a space between you and the ball that only the club and your arm at its fullest length fits. So this length, obviously, right, is too close. So I would have to shorten the club or create a bend. Most of the time I see players create a bend, and they either create a bend with their knees, their spine tilt, their elbow, or their wrist angle. Sometimes they'll do all 4 of those bends, okay? As soon as you create a bend, you're basically saying to yourself, I have to maintain that bend under all circumstances, under all the pressure, for the entirety of the motion. That is where we start to fall apart, because you may hit it good on 2, you may hit it good on 3, but over the course of the day, if you try to maintain those bends, you're gonna fail. And when you fail, that's when you're gonna make a double, okay? So here's what I want to do. On the contrary, the idea of standing up tall and using your arm straight, you could do this all day, right? So really, we're trying to get further away from the ball, right? So our arm can fit. We're trying to keep our arms as long as we can. And then as the club goes back, we want to make sure it stays outside our target line. That's all I really want. I want it outside our target line. So we're going to go palm down to a palm up move. And look where the hand finishes. It finishes way over here. Once we get there, you're going to have the club face a little open. You're going to feel like the handle is always up and towards the target. And the club's going to go outside, coming back. And we're always going to crisp it. Always. There's no amount of time that you can spend on this where you're going to start to feel like, oh, sometimes I don't crisp it. The whole idea is Seve Ballesteros basically was always trying to add loft during the swing. And the only way to add loft during the swing is to get this motion, right? Not this motion. So at home, everybody I feel like works on this. Leaning the club, getting their body here, their weight left, and then they try to hold that. That's not what you do. That's not how you pitch and chip the ball. It's especially not how you spin the ball, right? We're trying to get the club to actually always contact the ball so that the grip and the club are going over the ball at the same exact time. I never want the handle to win and lean the club, and I never want the club head to win and have it bowed like this. I want it to always be the same thing. Same time, straight line, right? So in the beginning, it can look very stagnant, very unathletic. Look at him. He's just keeping his arm straight and chipping, okay? Well, each result I have is very consistent. I get the ball to spin, I can hit any shot I want, I can hit it up in the air, it doesn't matter, right? And then you'll see me on the golf course and I'll start to hit this shot, right? And all of a sudden the golf club looks very flippy, right? Like I'm just taking my wrist back and I'm going from here to there, okay? So to do that one, here we go. This one's just going to be kind of flippy. Okay? Same golf shot, right? And you say, well, that one doesn't look like the same fundamental. The key here is that no matter if you can use your wrist as the fulcrum, right? You can use your shoulder as the fulcrum, but either way, at impact, your club and your arm need to be in a straight line. That's the only way this is done, okay? We eliminate the chunks and skulls by our setup, by setting up tall and using our whole length of the club. And then we become good at controlling our arc length to determine how far the ball goes. That's how we practice, right? So you're practicing, I think, at home, a move that works occasionally. And maybe it works good or maybe it works at a high level once or twice a year. I want you to work on a move that works all the time in every lie and has a great percentage of being successful. So the one thing I would do is I would give you a drill, and either the drill is to fill in, put something in the way of the negative space, which is in here. So every time you try to dump it inside, you hit it and you get a negative feedback. Or I would put a stick here, an alignment aid here, that's going to get you to finish underneath it. So we always want the club traveling this way. You'll react better to one of those two drills. You'll react better to the exit plane or that negative space drill. One of those drills is going to be the drill to your key to your success pitching with your short game. I think it's also going to give you some ideas about how to make your shank or your short wedge or your pushed wedge shank kind of get out of there as well. So look at that, use the drill. Like I said, give something here so you eliminate this idea that I don't want the club to go dumped inside. This is dead for every player on the planet. You can't play good from here. And then maybe on the through swing, give yourself something here that you have to swing left of. But if you do those two things, you're gonna keep the loft on the club, you're gonna always hit it crisply, and you'll be able to hit golf shots that you never thought were possible before. And it's gonna feel really, really easy. Okay, Sean, a quick add-on here. I just wanna say there's two things that I think people go wrong in chipping, right? We can hit a good shot, we can scull it, or we can fat it, right? And those are the three things that can happen when we chip or pitch the ball. Those things are gonna be lumped into two categories for me, right? If I scull it, keeping this idea, right? If our fundamental is that we're as tall as we can be and our arm is as long as we can be, then the only way to scull it is to create a bend in my arc, right? So if I shorten the lever, and the only way to shorten the lever, the golf club isn't going to get smaller. The only way to shorten the lever is by creating a bend in my lever system. So that's either in the wrist or the elbow, right? So if you do this and you start sculling it, well, it's one thing, right? The only other way to scull it is a movement in your foundation, and your foundation should have zero movement in it, and it should especially have zero movement that's up or down. We're establishing a level that our body is going to swing in, and if we lose that level, we're going to hit a bad shot. So there's two ways to lose the level, obviously. We can go down, now the lever doesn't fit in the space, or we can pull up. And all of a sudden, the lever again doesn't fit in the space. So when we hit a bad shot, I like to think about it as two ways. Instead of saying, oh, what did I do? I didn't rotate, or I didn't do this, or I didn't do that. It's really simple. Did I increase my level? First address your foundation. Did your body move up or down? If the answer is no, the body stayed the same, then it was something to happen in this system. So then it was I created a bend, right? So basically, you should be able to put 100 balls down in the same location and play them all, and literally no one should tell that you were there in the first place. There should be no divot taken. There should be no ground disturbance. So no matter what, again, my arms are long, okay, if I keep my body where it is, okay, I hit my shot again, I just keep going here. I let that occur, right? You can hit them all. You can hit the low one. You say, well, Gus, I want to hit a low. Well, then I just square up the club. Okay, and this, keep in mind, it's 58. You could also just change clubs, right? Maybe I get a little more square and I hit a low one, okay? Little down there, didn't love it. And then again, all we do is add loft if we want to change the shot. Notice the arc really isn't the same. I'm hitting the same 10-yard pitch here every time, so now I've added loft. I've rotated my body left to account for that loft opening, and then the same thing occurs. Right, and now all of a sudden, I hit a higher ball, right? So those are the things you can think about. When you make a mistake, it should be one of two things. Did I shorten my lever, or did I move my foundation? Those are the only two things it can be. If you apply this fundamental, I promise you'll become a better chipper. I promise, chipper and pitcher of the golf ball, and I promise you'll unlock the short game. And that's what this is. We're trying to make the target bigger. We're trying to make our bad shots seem less bad. We're trying to get up and down more. This is the part of the game that if you own it, you can make the mid-am. Guys, this is the Dadbird Project.